Hello, everyone. This is George Diaz, president and founder of Larry Jacob Internet Marketing and George Diaz Online. I'm bringing you another episode of Transforming Small Business Thinking. And this week, I have Josh Marsden as my guest. How are you, Josh?
I'm good, George. Hey, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Cool. And I'm glad that you broke out of your busy week. I've been seeing a lot of your promotions with your Ryan Levesque and the Ask Method and all that. So I know that your time is valuable.
No, it's all good, man. I'm here to support you. I love what you're doing. I love the value you're providing to your audience, and I just wanted to help. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to diving in here.
Cool. So a couple of weeks ago, I saw one of your articles, and that's what prompted me to call you. And you were talking about, what are the things that trigger people to respond? And I've written some articles that refer to Seth's the purple cow book, where, you've got 1 million cows and they're all brown. And, after a while, they're just cows. But if you were a purple cow, people would go, hold on a second, that's a purple cow. What is that? And it's how do we separate ourselves out of the masses? Because people are getting 300, 700 ads a day in one form or another. And how do you become that one that they figure, hey, let me check that one out?
Right.
So you have a lot to say in that space, and I figured, here's a chance for us to chat about that.
Yeah, for sure. Let me take a moment to just introduce myself to, your viewers. This way that they know who I am and what type of work that, my company and I do. As George said, my name's Josh Marsden. I'm the owner of CBO Acceleration, performance marketing agency. We help successful established e-commerce clients scale to 7-8 figures and get maximum ROI from their paid advertising, Facebook, Google, etc. And I'm also the author of Facebook Advertising, Trends and Strategies for E-commerce, 2019 edition, working on the 2020 version right now. And that's who I am. That's what I do. I really specialize in helping, e-commerce clients just grow and scale through my company services. I think that the best place to start when it comes to this is, you have to have a strong foundation when you are approaching creating copy that is compelling, that triggers action. And, it's funny. I was actually in a mastermind last night, and this is fresh in my head, so I'm going to bring this up. So my friend, he flew into town randomly yesterday, and I took him to this mastermind, and he just blew everybody away. And one of the things that came up in the mastermind by him is that, so a lot of people, they think they know their audience. Even myself, I from time to time catch myself thinking that I know my audience better than anybody else, and better than they know themselves even. But the thing is that that's just ego. That's just ego speaking. And as business owners, as marketers, we have to ground our ego, and we have to really realize that we don't know our audience, and we need to do the work to get to know our audience.
Yeah, and let me add one more thing. In addition to ego, we're contaminated by our own expertise. So we're thinking about how we do it, not what other people use our stuff for. So it's a double whammy.
Yep. And actually, to your point too, George, a lot of times, we talk at a higher level than we need to because we're experts in what we do. And we also don't think that the stuff that we know can provide a lot of value and impact, because we think it's just standard knowledge. But it's just standard knowledge to us in our circles, but it's not standard knowledge to the audiences that we serve. But the point I'm making is that, when it comes to creating copy, it comes down to your preparation, your research, and it really ties back to getting to know your audience, whether it's sitting down with them, having a conversation with them, picking their brain, really getting to know what their challenges are, what their motivations are, what their goals are, what their pain points are, or doing it in a more scalable way, which is through surveys, for example. And I definitely, recommend checking out Ryan Levesque's Ask Method and his process, because it's the best that I've seen in several years I've been doing this when it comes to getting, compelling data that you can use in your copy. He's brilliant at that. But it really comes down to getting to know your audience, whether it's through, like I said, phone calls, in-person interviews, or doing scalable, surveys, through emails, ads, etc. And then once you do know your audience, it's a matter of truly understanding your audience through that data that you've received, and then using it, in a very, precise, let's just say scientific way. And there's a lot of different things you want to do to be able to do that. mean, for one, you want to really communicate in their own words. They've given you their words. And, and I'm going to go back to Ryan here, because Ryan was the first person that I heard this from. And I owe a lot of the stuff I'm talking about today to Ryan, and, my, the teachings that I received from him, and just being a student.
And in case you all missed, he's referring to, in case you all missed it earlier, he's talking about Ryan Levesque. And he's the guy who wrote the Ask book, and he recently released is it Choose?
Choose. Yep.
All right, I just want to point that out in case people are wondering who Ryan is.
Yeah, and he'd probably correct you and say Ryan Levesque, but anyway.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. I'm just backing up his name. But yeah, so he talks about how you really want to speak to in your audience verbiage, and how you do that is by getting that feedback and then using it in your copy. So it's super important that you do that. And then of course, just knowing where their challenges are, where their pain points are. This way you could speak to those, and you could speak to the result that you could take them to that's an opposite to that as well. And that comes down to your research as well. And then, after that, once you have kind of those baselines, those foundations, that's when you can really implement those psychological triggers that, is why we're connecting today. These psychological triggers have been around for hundreds of years. It's really neuro-linguistic programming. And, there's a lot of copywriting books out there on NLP, on how to use it in copy. There's NLP specific books. You can understand the psychology of NLP. But, I'd love to, kind of go into this and talk about that if you'd like, George.
Sure. And if you could kind of give examples, because, I get what you're going, but it's when you see the examples of how you could do it right or wrong, I think that kind of helps, especially for someone who's kind of new in this space. Sure.
Yeah, I'll do my best to try to give some examples right here on the fly. It's kind of on the spot, but I'll do my best. Well, here, let me go into this. So, there's a number of psychological triggers. First one is story. So people really follow stories. And so anytime that you can use stories in your messaging to get people to, bond with you, get their attention, and to lead them to where you want them to go, it's really powerful. George, were you going to say something? It looked like you were raising your hand. Oh, no. Okay, just checking. Okay. Yeah, so stories are powerful. And I think it just comes down to the fact that there's a child in all of us. We all are, curious people at our core, even though we get away from that from time to time. But the more that we stay in that childlike state of curiosity, the better. And we want that. So anytime that we come across a story and copy that compels us, that brings us back to, being 10 again, like my son, we love it. We love following stories. And if you can write a compelling story that really ties into the message that you're trying to portray, and then of course ties into the action that you want to lead them into, that's a powerful psychological trigger that really, gets people to take action.
Right. Let me throw a story in here. So I'm a small business owner. I want to grow my revenue. I've got issues with sales and things like that. And talking about a solution that grows sales, increases revenue, grows your company, that's interesting. But talking about my wife is so stressed out because every week I'm shooting for a specific goal, we fall short, and you do that for 3 or 4 months, and oh my gosh, my wife was on the phone talking to my mother-in-law, and I could just hear it, and the tension, I was getting and I feel incompetent. That's a different approach in copywriting that might grab someone's attention, right?
Yeah, that's a really powerful story right there, right? And,
I completely made that one up, but I hear my wife talking to my mother-in-law all the time on the phone, and sometimes other things make me cringe.
Well, let's just say that, you as a business are targeting business owners, just like what you just portrayed. And you're targeting, businesses that are, let's just say below 100,000 a year or fairly new, just getting started. Their challenges, and this is because I've done some research and some homework, their challenges are, getting predictability and scalability. And so let's just say that I did a survey on an audience, of those people. And out of that, I saw a lot of what you just said. I saw that a lot of people are venting about how their wives are stressed all the time. They're stressed about money. You know, they go month to month, and, you know, they're really trying to get out of that situation. So now, you know, I've got, you know, something that I can, you know, like base whatever story that I come up with on. And, you know, and what I would do in that case is I would, you know, tap into, you know, why is that? Why is that happening? And then this is just getting to know your audience through surveys. And I might find this out. I might find out that, you know, the majority of my audience, the reason why they struggle is because they don't, you know, really understand what's the best marketing strategy for their type of business, maybe, right? It could be that. And it also could be, and then that comes down to the fact that they have a gap in their learning curve. They have a gap in their knowledge. And so I would then, you know, probably come up with some sort of story on, you know, being, you know, backed up against the wall, you know, going month to month, stressing about money, you know, every single month, hearing my wife, you know, stress out on the phone and stress out with me, because, and it all comes down to the fact that we have, you know, instability when it comes to finances. And I would, you know, basically say, like, you know, you have two choices when your back is up against the wall. You could either, you know, say, you know what, hell with this. I'm done. I'm not going to do this anymore because I'm sick and tired of being in this situation. And so you're not going to fight. You're basically saying, you know what, I've lost. I'm moving on. Or you could fight. And if you fight, you know, then I would, you know, talk about, okay, so here is a personal story. It's very similar to that, where my back was up against the wall, where I felt very similar feelings. And I knew that the challenge was that I had a gap in my own knowledge and my own, you know, expertise to be able to get my business to where I wanted it to be. And this is what I did. And then I would go over that. And then, you know, I would relate that to, like, the offer that I'm making. You know, let's just say I'm making like an educational offer, a program offer, or a mastermind offer. I would relate it to that. And then I would say, you know, it was scary at first, but once I made that investment and that commitment, this is what happened. And I'd like to see that happen for you. You know, that would be like the end piece of the copy.
Yeah. And you know, what's interesting there, I know a lot of people who haven't done things online are kind of really gun shy about getting too much out there, getting too personal. And I mean, I coach people just the opposite, because getting vulnerable, yeah, I mean, you might turn some people off, but a lot of people, it's like, hold on, this guy gets me.
Yeah.
And I think people don't use their weaknesses well enough, you know?
Yeah, I'm guilty of that too. You know, I'm not crazy about being vulnerable either. I think it goes back to the way I was raised, you know, being raised in a military family.
Well, and everybody,
military myself.
Who wants to be the guy that everybody laughs at,
I know.
right? Or, you know, whatever, right?
Right. Yeah. We got to get past that voice in our heads, right? And we have to say, you know what? We're okay with putting ourselves out there. We're okay with being judged if we get judged. We're okay with people not liking us for whatever reason. And that's the block. You know, I think that if you know, your audience is listening to this, I've got that. I get it. You know, I have to coach myself from time to time to put myself out there and be vulnerable. And I'm sure you do as well, George. I think it comes down to, you know, just coaching yourself out of that. So this way you can put yourself out there, be vulnerable. And, you know, actually it's, to your point too, it's better to be that way, because you want to polarize people. If you don't polarize people, then, you know, you're just like everybody else. But if you polarize people, you're unique in their eyes. And you'll also draw the people that you actually resonate with and you want to work with, because you're actively being vulnerable and being polarizing. And
if you look at like a you know, a normal curve, you're going to have people that go over here and go, oh, this guy's full of it. You're going to have people on the other end that are going, man, I can really relate to this people. And then, you know, you got the people in the middle. But if you try to pitch to the big block, you know, the non-niche, you know, you're competing against the masses, like you're saying. And that's, man, that's work.
Yeah. You definitely can't do that, you know, these days. I mean, you know, you can't do that any day, period. I mean, there's always going to be competition. And the more you can differentiate yourself, you know, by, you know, polarizing people, being vulnerable, putting yourself out there, the better. And especially as a small business, because, you know, people buy from people. They don't buy from businesses. And so you want to create that human to human interaction. And, you know, being vulnerable is a very strong point when it comes to being able to do that, you know, for you and your business to see more success.
Yeah. You know, I'm working with Lindsay Boyd in the business of brand. And it was interesting to see that she's got, you know, a business brand, you know, they call it the brand DNA. And then they've got a personal brand. she said, 5 years ago, we didn't have to focus on this personal brand so much because it just wasn't something you had to do. And it's like now, people are, you just mentioned it, people buy from people, and you can't stand behind your company and hope that people are going to, become magnets to your company, because that just doesn't work.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when your business is small, let's just say small to the point of making, less than a few seven figures. I mean, then yeah, personal brand of the business, you being the CEO is powerful and very much, in my opinion, needed. But then at some point you do have to kind of transition yourself out of the brand and make sure your brand has a specific message to be able to have that level of scale, like Amazon or Coca-Cola or Apple, for example.
Right. We're, Apple's one of the few that, in the, the days when it was being headed up by brain fart here. But the Zuckerberg with Facebook and stuff like that. But nobody knows who's behind Google.
I know. That's true. But I think in the early days, maybe. But I'd have to look back and research that.
But cool. So what are some of these other psychological triggers we want to jump into?
Yeah, you got it, man. Well, fear of missing out. That's another one. It's just, people hate to be left out, especially if they see that there's significant opportunity to overcome their challenges, their pain points, or get to the benefit, get to the result that they really, really want. People hate to miss out on that. And so, if you can create, compelling, copy that's all about the fear of missing out, like, telling maybe, for example, going over how, you have a specific, deadline for a specific offer. And that, other people that have joined the offer, whatever it is, have seen X, Y, and Z, and, going into details with that, and then going over maybe the additional benefits that are coming out of the offer, and then saying, hey, you're about to, miss out on this incredible offer where you can get to X, Y, and Z, whatever that is, to that specific audience. That, people don't like to miss out on offers that are compelling, that they're, paying attention to. And so that's also something that is a powerful psychological trigger that we see every day, in ads, emails, etc., that can also cause people to, take action on whatever offer that you're promoting.
Yeah, there was an offer. I spent a lot of time reverse engineering people's funnels, but there was one that I was actually interested in, and it was about how to get yourself published, how to get guest posts, things like that. And, so I went through it. It was interesting. I was hearing it in the background while I was doing other things because it wasn't teaching me something specific, but I go, I might do this. And then when they gave the offer, the price was actually right. And then they put a countdown timer. Yep. And it's like, this offer is only going to be good until, it was like, 4 days or something. And then the timer was clicking and clicking. And they send me an email, and I go, I don't need this, so I'm not going to buy it, but I'm just going to watch. And then after that one expired, then there was like another one. Well, if that wasn't a good offer, this one. And then there was a little bit of a timeout on that one as well. And it's interesting how it plays with your head in ways that doesn't make sense when you don't need something, but it's almost like, I need that thing.
I know. Yeah, for sure. I've purchased things, whether it's personal or for the business, that had some sort of countdown time or some sort of urgency behind it. And, some of them have worked out really well, others haven't. But the bottom line is, it's a psychological trigger that's gotten me to take action. It's gotten me to buy. So it's super powerful, if you use it, in your, funnels, your messaging, et cetera. So that's a really powerful, and fairly simple in a way, psychological trigger.
Yeah. Even if it's like, hey, this is our up to Labor Day sale, and after Labor Day, it's done. It's like,
yeah. Totally. We've had various case studies of, promos and offers with an expiration date. For example, this is the one at the top of my head that I'll just tell real quick. Last November, we ran a promo for a client of ours that was selling physical therapy, basically certifications through his membership site. And he had a few levels that he was selling. And he came to us, wanted to work with us. We created a strategy. We saw low-hanging fruit. We saw an immediate opportunity to really help them make a lot of money right away with us. And so we always try to identify those quick wins right away. And then of course we implement. And so we went through, our process. We built out, a funnel, quote unquote. And we basically, we turned 2,500 in advertising to 132,000 in revenue in 7 days. And that was really because of that FOMO, that fear of missing out psychological trigger. Because again, it's like we're talking about, it's a super powerful trigger. And, if you have an audience that's primed for, your offer, if you have really good messaging, and if you have like a really hard, deadline that you're communicating consistently in all your channels, emails, ads, etc., it can get people to take action. And that's just an example of that.
Cool. Well, we have time for one more. You have another one you want to throw out?
Yeah, for sure. Let's go with, reciprocity. Reciprocity. So
that's a mouthful. You're going to have to explain that one.
Okay. So reciprocity is simply this, just providing value up front and creating goodwill. That's really what it comes down to. Like this episode for you, for example, is creating goodwill with the people that you're providing this content to. And, they really appreciate it. And they're like very thankful for it, very grateful for it. And, they feel good feelings about you because you're putting out this exceptional, content that is designed to help them with their business. That's reciprocity, and basically, what that is, building, that equity, that's equity with your audience. So this way, when you do make an offer, they've seen so much value from you already, through content, through emails of value, whatever the case may be, that they're just very receptive to give that value back by investing in whatever it is that you're offering them at that specific point in time. So reciprocity is huge, and let's just go back to that promo.
It's almost like people feel like they ought to. It's like I only owe someone something, right?
Right. That's why you see a lot of free offers out there, because, of course they want to get your contact details. Of course they want to follow up with you, but they also want to create value in advance. They want to show you how much value they can provide to you. Because if you see it, if you consume it, if you see that impact from something that's free, imagine if you were to buy something. What's that level of impact you'll receive if you actually buy something versus just getting something for free, right? And that's value in advance. That's reciprocity. So, I definitely recommend, there's a number of books out there, but the one that I really like that kind of goes over some of the stuff is Pre-Suasion and Infuence by Robert Cialdini.
That's one title?
There's two, Pre-Suasion, and then there's also Infuence. Infuence is the first book. Pre-Suasion is the second book.
Oh, okay.
Basically goes over the laws of persuasion. And Robert, Cialdini, great guy. He actually taught here at Arizona State at one point. I met him in San Diego earlier this year. But those books are just the way that he communicates the laws of persuasion makes it very, very easy to understand.
And by the way, I'll make sure to get those from you so that I'll publish it with the show notes.
Sounds good. Yeah, they're great books. I totally recommend them. I've consumed them myself, and they're great books. And then of course anything by Ryan Levesque. Ask. I haven't read Choose, so I can't really speak to that. But Ask is powerful. It really shows you how to use surveys to be able to understand your audience on a deeper level, so you can use that information. And just following Ryan's stuff. Him and his team, because I know he's not doing all the copy, but him and his team, they produce exceptional copy, and you could see a lot of Ryan's influence in his team's execution because their copy is so good. So, but yeah, I'd recommend those resources if you really want to learn more about the psychological triggers, NLP, and the laws of persuasion. Cool.
Hey, Josh, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. If anybody wants to reach out to you, how could they find you?
Yeah. Well, there's a few different ways. One, go to our website, CVO. That's CVO acceleration, ACCEL.com. You can go there. We have several free offers there you can check out. You can get a copy of my book, just pay shipping, $7. It saves you 50% versus Amazon. Amazon's $15. You could also sign up for a free kind of training based off of a case study where we did a 1,500%, that's a 15-to-1 ROI using Facebook ads for one of our 7+ figure e-commerce clients that's since seen like a $93,000 sales day and some other wins as well. You could check that out, or you could just book a call, connect with me directly, and I'll see if we can help you, and if we can, great. If we can't, hey, no problem. I'll give you some value and help you out because I love helping people. So that's how you can reach out to me and find out more.
Great. Well, hey, Josh, thank you so much for your time. This has been a great episode, and we'll make sure we send it out to our whole audience.
Sounds good. Yeah, thanks, George, for having me. I appreciate it.
Take care.